Nick Rekieta did not take well to my discussion about him, even though it's like, I feel I was very fair to him. He took a monumental issue. I have to be measured in how I respond to Rekieta, because the way that Rekieta works is that what he's trying to do is very transparent. He doesn't want to do the thing where he says, I'm pissed off that you said all this shit about me. I'm pissed off about the forum. So go fuck yourself, which is what an adult would do. An adult would be direct. An adult has the ability to be concise and to the point and honest about his intentions and his feelings to other men. That is just what a man can do. Rekieta does not have this ability. He is completely unable to be direct and confrontational. He will always, in a roundabout way, try to address problems without actually stating that they are problems. And I want to reiterate that what I said is that Rekieta approached me. Rekieta brought up Drexel on his own initiative without any encouragement from me, and used Drexel as an example that I misunderstand people. I have extremely poor social intuition. I don't understand a joke. I can't discern from a story and from reality. I can't discern from the far distant past and how a person is today. And I told him in response to this that I have a pretty good understanding of Drexel. This post is a comprehensive explanation of who Drexel is. So the post is very comprehensive. I'm not going to read through all of it, but it very clearly states through Drexel's own words, which again, if you're telling a story, you're going to tell that story in a way that is as favorable to you as could possibly happen. And I'll just read what he says. My good friend's daughter, a teenager at the time, 13 to be precise, and I were always cool. No, I never groomed her or said one word of sexual nature around her. She learned of my exploits through others. She eventually goes to college and dated a simp. I innocently met up with them at her behest at the state fair, and then he exposed his simp nature to me, a non-simp. They broke up before she moved across the country to do her doctorate program at age 22. Once there, she said she contracted me about wanting to explore BDSM. I reluctantly agreed, so I took her to a bondage club to see if it was truly for her, and it was. I tried to pursue her to find a professional dom out there, but there were none to 100% trust. So I had to fill the role so she could explore without getting exploited, sold into a sex ring, hurt or killed. Locally, multiple deaths happened at a dungeon club inside gay 90s due to these Craigslist doms not knowing what the fuck they're doing. Eventually, her mom found out due to the Apple Cloud, and that was that. Zero grooming. Kill that noise and get your facts straight. Drexel hooked up with a woman. She had a 13-year-old daughter. He took this 13-year-old girl to Disney World. He bought her first set of Mickey Mouse ears. Years later, and by the way, the age is conflicting. The first time he told this, she was 18 or 19. Now he says 22. But as an adult, I think in his 30s or 40s at this time, has sex with the now of age girl, the daughter of a friend that he also fucked. If you've ever heard the statistic that a child is most likely to be molested by someone they know, the reason why that is a statistic is because the stepfather thing is a crisis. If you are a single mom, your options for dating are pretty low. And if you are a single mom, and especially if you have a 13-year-old girl in your custody, your sole custody, you may attract a specific type of man who is very exploitative and very willing to lie to your fucking face to get access to something else that he's interested in. It is absolutely morally reprehensible. And even in this light, he's trying to portray himself as some fucking hero. If he didn't immediately step in and fuck her hardcore and BDSM style, then she would have been fucked by somebody else who is dangerous, unlike Drexel, who is a hero to be commended for and lauded for how valiant he is in saving this girl from being sexually exploited by somebody else. And I'm just supposed to believe this at face value. And I'm supposed to assume and clear my mind that the thing that it probably would happen in this situation didn't happen. So when Rekieta brings him up to me and says to me that I don't know what I'm talking about Drexel, and I start laying out the facts about what he's said over the years, he says, well, I don't know. I didn't know all that. He tells me, I don't know all of that. And I said, well, if you're going to come to me and you're going to try and confront me on something, then maybe you should know what the fuck you're talking about before you try and confront me on it. And then he gets upset and he says, Josh, you're so fucking autistic. You don't understand. I'm just using Drexel as an example of your wronged thinking and how you presume facts that you don't know about because you were told them by untrustworthy people on the Kiwi farms. And I take offense to this because if you're going to come to me and you're going to tell me, Josh, the sky is green, and you are so dumb that you can't see for your own eyes that the sky is green, when lo, it is so true that the sky is green. And then I open the fucking blinds and I say, look, forsooth, the sky doth be blue up in the fucking, up there. And he says, tis but a trick of thine eye, and thine art autistic. And you don't understand the profundity of my statement. I'm trying to make you understand that you don't know what you're talking about. And sure, in the fucking example that you gave me, I'm wrong. You should still come to my way of thinking. It just doesn't make sense. If you're the whole point, like I said, if you're gonna, like what I just did, Nick Rekieta comes to me. He tells me something wrong. I prove to him that it's wrong, and then he gets upset that I'm not following his logic. That's an example. And it's an example because we know the sky is blue. It's true. You can't then come back to me and be like, well, sometimes it's pink during twilight, because that's fucking gay. It's an example that's always true when you understand it. So when you come to me and you're trying to explain something and you're coming at me with an example that isn't fucking true, then maybe the takeaway of that should be you don't know what you're talking about. Maybe you're wrong. But of course, he doesn't come to that, and he circles around and reasserts that he's completely right about Drexel. I just don't understand that it's a story and it happened in the past. I don't care if it happened in the past. He was a fucking adult. He wasn't even a young adult. He was in his 30s when he decided to do this. So I'm in my right to assume that he's a bad person because he did bad things as an adult. It doesn't matter if it was 5 or 10 years ago, because that's a relatively short amount of time in his life. He was still the same person then that he is now. So therefore, I'm going to judge him for it. And then, of course, when I talk about Drexel and I make fun of him, Rekieta complains, you still don't get it, and you still think it's about Drexel. Now, I also want to say this, that Rekieta accuses me of being racist towards Drexel. I am racist. What that means is that when I encounter people that I have negative, bigoted emotions towards, I have a preemptive negative disposition towards them. That does not mean that I'm going to hate every single person that I meet of specific dispositions, because I like a lot of people who are of that disposition. It just means that I'm biased, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to assume that Drexel is molesting kids because he's black. It just means that when I see Drexel doing this shady shit, I'm going to say, look, it's exactly what I thought it was. But it's based on his own words. It's not based on something that I made up. It's based on what he's told people. He told people that he met this woman, that he fucked her, that he took her kids to Disneyland, and then a few years later, he's fucking her in hardcore BDSM, and he blames that on everybody else except him. When he fucks her, that's a gift to her. Of course, I'm going to assume that this guy is a pest, and I'm going to make fun of him, and I'm in my rights to do so. And him being incidentally black in this instance is not a manifestation of my racism. If Vito said this, I of course would be making fun of Vito. If Dick said this, I would be making fun of Dick. If Rekieta said this about himself, I would be making fun of Rekieta for the exact same thing. So I don't know how he can say that I'm racist for this. By the way, in the conversation, the shower talk that I had with Rekieta, he is repeatedly, I go out of my way in this conversation, and I literally wrote out messages and had to delete them where I avoided saying anything about Drexel being black. I didn't even mention it in a 2-hour-long text message with this guy. Rekieta repeatedly referred to him as the Negra. The Negra, I know you hate the Negro. Know you hate the Negro, the damn Negra. He repeatedly tried to invoke race into this conversation. I did not take the bait. It was tempting to take the bait sometimes, but I didn't. So him, again, trying to inject race in this is him manifesting what he wants to hear from me so that he can make that the point of contention. But the point of contention is that he is sexually exploiting children that he knew who grew into adults. But that is the literal dictionary definition of a grooming. When you, Grace Thorpe. Grace Thorpe is having sex with her dad, but did they have sex before she was 18? Probably not. It's hard to tell. But does that make it okay? No, because he was in a position of power over her and used that to make her ready for sex with him as soon as she became legally able to do so. That's also not okay. And they're also white, by the way. So that's the first lie. The second one, and this one is unforgivable because I know what he's doing. When he messaged me and he told me that he was mentioning all these issues and how people assume things that may not be true. And I told him, Rekieta, this is human nature. You go out into public and you say X, Y, and alpha. So when people see X, Y, and alpha, and they don't have the full picture, the human brain instinctively, across racial boundaries, across time and place, depending, doesn't matter who you are or when you're at, when you see a pattern, you will fill in the gap. And you will fill in the gap with the most likely answer, which is what you're most likely wanting to believe. I tell him this is just how people work. You made these things public. You didn't make everything public. And now people are going to assume certain things about you. That's just how people are. And if you don't like it, you should make fewer things public that people can make negative assumptions that you don't like about. He took this very poorly and continued to press that it was a specific thing with the forum. The forum is very stupid. And I told him, can you give me, and it was line crossing harassment and a deliberate affront to his business, things that he was hurting as a result of. And I said, can you show me an example? I want you to show me what you're talking about. Stop talking in roundabout ways. Stop hinting at this huge problem that I just don't understand. And then backing off when I ask you to show me what it is. He just doesn't. He just doesn't do it. And I said, like, I need you to show me a post. I need you to tell me a username that I can look at to validate what you're trying to say. And then at that point, he backs off and says, I'm not trying to get you to do anything. It's not like that. I know you can't control what people say. And he gets so close to just saying, I need these things taken care of, and he never touches on it. And I told him, Rekieta, I cannot censor the Kiwi Farm stuff, just preemptively, because he keeps circling this topic. I say, I cannot censor people, I cannot ban people for you, and I cannot control narratives. I cannot go into your thread and try to fix things. If I go into a thread and counter the narrative, people are going to be like, wow, that's really suspicious. And they're going to double down on what they believe. So he portrays this the opposite way, where I'm begging him, Rekieta, please, Rekieta, let me make things straight with you. Let me make things straight. I need you, Rekieta. What gets deleted? Just tell me who's banned and they're gone, Rekieta. I need that thread deleted today. Just let me know. Give me the signal. I'm at your beck and call. And it's so fucking manipulative. And I'll play you. This guy made a very handy video explaining exactly what I'm talking about. It's a minute and a half. So let's watch it.
In fact, one time I brought up that I thought the rules on the forum were not being enforced properly. And he's like, who? What's the name? What's the name? Who do you want me to kick off the board? I'm like, Josh, I don't want you to kick anybody off anything. What the fuck are you talking about?
You made a statement that I took issue with. And
what was that?
You said that the thread was like line crossing harassment, and it had broken its original motive of being watch only. And I have no idea what you're referring to.
No. Okay, so there's a rule on the farms, right? If I'm not mistaken, there's a rule of don't touch the cow, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there are people in various threads who intentionally touch the cow, and sometimes they get removed, and sometimes they don't. And I think that there's
reference to who though.
He's like, who? What's the name?
Like, can you give an example?
Well, for me, for some examples, yeah.
What happened to you that would be line crossing? I can't think of an instance off the top of my head.
What's the name? Who do you want me to kick off the board?
Well, there are users in my thread who have definitely like intentionally tried to interfere with shit and to provoke and provocate stuff. Yeah, absolutely. I didn't ask you to remove anybody. I don't do that. Like, I'm not going to be like, let me report this.
I don't know I legitimately don't know what you're referring to. I can't think of an instance.
I can talk to you privately about it. I don't want to call out people. Like, okay. I don't want people.
He's like, who? What's the name? What's the name? Who do you want me to kick off the board? What the fuck are you talking about?
That's literally how it goes in private too. Because he says there are these problems. There are specific problems with your site that are line crossing. The rules are not being enforced. They're false and malicious. And I say, what are you talking about? And he says, well, I'm not trying to censor anything, because he knows that if something were to happen and he were to ask for XYZ, ask for a favor, and that were to get screen capped and shared, that would be a liability and a risk that he's not willing to take. So instead, when I ask him, what is he trying to accomplish? He takes that and he lies. And he tries to say, I'm not trying to figure out what the fuck he's wanting. and preemptively taking off the table that I will not be censoring the thread or banning anyone at his request unless it is genuinely line crossing harassment or something. He takes that and flips it on its head and says that I'm desperate for some way to make amends by censoring people on the site. And that is a dick move I did not expect. And the real shame here is that what he's doing is very passive aggressive, and I'll explain in a second. But I want to show this. Let's go back to Drexel real quick because I have these lined up. I skipped over this, but this is Drexel, I think, and again in a more contemporaneous time, re-explaining the grooming thing. So I want you to look at everybody else's face while he's explaining this. You ready?
Thing. She said, the funny thing is about people who make those comments is she goes, do you know where I learned about all of you being in the lifestyle, hosting gangbangs, orgies, swinger parties? She goes, do you know where I heard it? From the very people who were most pissed at me, being her mom and the people around her, because that's who told them. I never once said anything sexual toward this girl as a teenager, as a minor. I never made innuendo.
Of course.
So who was doing it? Ironically, it's the people, like I said, it's her mom and her mom's friends, which are our mutual friends, right? Who were making comments like, oh my God, Drex does this, Drex does that. So she's hearing this. Yeah. She saw she saw shit in her mom's phone regards to me, right? So that's the great irony. Like, so basically, if anything, to use the grooming term, it's like, by you being her being exposed to her own mother and her mother's friends, basically kind of built me up. You see what I'm saying?
His literal defense of what he's done is that her mother was so vocal about her lust for BBC and bondage that her daughter, through the ether of how loudly she was declaring her love for the BBC, she wanted, I gotta get in on that. I gotta get in on that. It just sounds so good. I gotta get tied up and fucked in the ass by a black man. That's the only way that I can be satisfied in this life. A 13-year-old heard that and then said, "That's what I want. That's what I want in my life." That is fucking bullshit, and everyone fucking knows it. And that's why they look so uncomfortable in that clip. This is how he talks about himself. He says, "Tell me all the legal women you cherish and I'll nut all over them. Be a good boy and eat some black bull cum. Hide your kids, hide your wife. The black bull is coming for them. Ook, ook." Rekieta is going to call me racist, and this motherfucker is in his Discord saying, hide your kids, hide your life. The black bull is coming for them. Ook, ook. I don't need to be racist. I'm just going to point. I'm going to make a very serious expression. I'm pointing at him. My face is completely stoic. And I'm implying racism, but it doesn't need to be fucking said, okay? That's just who Drexel is. That's why I make fun of him, because he is a bad person. So that's the Rekieta Drexel thing. Back to Rekieta. I served no purpose to Rekieta. In the last year, there has been a lot that's happened to the Kiwi farms, starting with the Keffel shit. Rekieta has stopped inviting me onto his show. There have been serious, especially with the Attorney General of Washington, there have been serious escalations with Hurricane Electric. That would be nice to have an audience to talk about. Rekieta in the past would have been immediately interested in talking about such a thing. He's never made a word about it. As far as I know, he's never talked about the fact that Melinda Scott, the Mountain Dew shit, was something that he would raid on stream as prime content. No interest in how that case has resolved after 2 years. No interest, and that's fine. If he doesn't want to talk to me, that's fine. I don't care. But it's really obvious that he is trying to distance me from him and not promote my content or my issues or my plight because he doesn't care. He wanted the site to go down, as far as I'm concerned. And the fact that it's climbing back up and trying to make legal waves in order to accomplish this is irrelevant to his interest as a hedonist on stream. In regards, he has replaced me with Vito the pedo. I will reiterate that Vito Gesualdi is a pedophile. I think he's an active threat to children. I think that his association with Max Carson makes it obvious to anyone that he is a sexual predator who knows sexual predators and hangs out with sexual predators. I don't know if he's ever touched a child. I have no evidence of that. However, I do think that he is sexually attracted to children. And I think that a reasonable person looking at the things that he said and the quote-unquote jokes that he's made and the company that he keeps, that is a reasonable decision to reach. And probably the most obvious one to any normal person. So as he's defending Vito, saying, why are the left and the right both trying to sacrifice comedy on the altar of false self-righteousness? And this is the exact statement that Dick made. This is word for word verbatim. Oh, people are trying to ruin comedy. We can't talk about fucking kids anymore. It's just a joke. Haha. It's totally just a joke. Haha. Why are people so indignant about this? Word for word, that's what Dick says. Very coincidental. It's intentionally misunderstanding obvious jokes for moral outrage isn't actually a good thing. Someone replies saying, because those jokes are poorly timed and timing is the essential to comedy. It says, poor jokes don't make people bad. It makes the jokes bad. People are criticizing jokes. People are saying the jokes are proof of a fact. It's not the same. I disagree. Let's take a look at what this is a response to Eric July tweeting this out saying, I found some new stuff out about Vito. Apparently these are all reals. I apologize for being ignorant in the context of why people referred to him as the way they do. Edgelord or not, these are not things you joke about. These are defending needs and hard drives checked. Do not ask me about this weirdo again. This is Vito Gesualdi saying, Vito is not trying to fool anyone. I am going to fuck your kids. Vito says, after Vito finishes butt fucking this 8-year-old, he gave me some great tips on doing crowd work. Vito says, Vito's not joking. Hide your children because Vito is coming for them. Vito cannot stop himself. Vito says, Vito thinks you're underestimating how many normal men could become aroused by a minor under particular circumstances. That does not even seem like a joke. This one could just be like, haha, I'm so edgy, I'm gonna talk about fucking kids. This one, that's not a joke. He's legitimately saying that he gets aroused by watching cuties. And it's just like, this is, the Kiwi Farms is currently awaiting a response from the Attorney General of Washington over the fate of internet net neutrality in one state, which would be a national news line if it was not the Kiwi Farms. It would be something for alt tech people like Rekieta, if he was doing a law stream, to eat up, because what a great thing. But no, Rekieta's not interested in that anymore. He's interested in defending Vito Gesualdi in these tweets, which are high comedy that nobody should ever be judged for. When you say things like this, according to Rekieta, you should never be judged for it. You should only be judged for how good the joke is. And thus, I come to my conclusion that what Rekieta wants is not friends. A friend will pull you aside and tell you repeatedly over years that you are concerned about the direction that he's going, that you want the best for him and his children, his white children, because you may be a racist friend. And you may outline certain things that you're upset with, that you don't like, that you're concerned with, and that you would like to see him change. A friend would do that. What Rekieta wants is not a friend. What Rekieta wants is an enabler, someone like Dick, who can enable any behavior. You look at Dick and Ralph. Ralph is left to his own devices. Dick makes no effort to intervene. He says it's not his place because he doesn't give a fuck. Ralph wants to drink himself to death and pop pills until he's literally vomiting and asphyxiating his own vomit in the gutters of a Mexican hovel. That's no problem. Dick doesn't care. That's his own choices, and there's no reason why he should be concerned with that. And it is very obvious to me that what Rekieta wants is someone like that, who's going to tell him over and over again that the decisions that he makes are the right ones, or it's up to him, and nobody should be the judge of his character because of that, which I am unwilling to be. And it's very obvious also, based on what Rekieta has said, that he wants me to be the one to say, we're not friends anymore. I would be completely within my right to say, you're lying about me deliberately to try and drive a wedge between me and my community. That's pretty shitty. Go fuck yourself. Very reasonable person. It would be extremely reasonable to say that. And it wouldn't even be mad at the internet, because it's not the internet that is pissing me off. It's one particular person. However, chat, in good faith, I will treat Rekieta as he's treated me, because whenever he signs off these rants about me, he says, I love Josh, I love the Kiwi Farms. I just think that everything about him is shit and his community is fucking garbage, and I don't care. In fact, I hope it goes away, because fuck it. That's his thing. He does this really passive aggressive thing where he circles around telling me to go fuck myself, but he can't be the one to say it. So I will not be the one to say it. In fact, I'm going to treat Rekieta just like he treated me, and I'm going to say, Nick, I hold no ill will towards you. I totally forgive you for lying about me, offering to censor your thread. I know from your nose, it's just part of your nature, and you can't help yourself. Your car is so cool, and you totally deserve to treat yourself. And if you're ever down a man at the bull run, I'll be your guy. And if that Baldo ever cuts off circulation and you need help to sire number 7, I will be your stud. And God forbid something happens at your family meetup with Dick and Vito that proves me right. I'll be there with you. Overnight flight with 2 blue barrels and 50 gallons of hydrochloric acid to set everything straight. Because I love you, buddy, and I care about you, and I wish the best for you. And that is my response, my comprehensive response to Rekieta. For 10 says, forsooth, hearken unto my word, the Colonel doth be stricken with the Lord with a disease of special interest. The poor fool remains unable to revel in the natural masculine joys such as smashing maidenly box. R.I.P. There's nothing wrong with smashing box, but there's nothing special about it either, is my point. I'm not, when Drexel does his whole, bro, I like fucked mom and her daughter. It's just like in my porn, bro. I'm not like impressed by that. I just see a black man desperate to look cool through his pickup artist shit and trying to fuck teenage girls. It does not impress me. James Boone for 5 says, Nick is showing symptoms of low T. Not that it's bad, just something that comes natural at his age. I'll trust your opinion on this. Death Spigot for 5 says, there are dozens of people lying about Nick and co, and they are desperate to manufacture conflict between you two. Learning that Nick has chosen to distance you and tolerate Vito instead is disappointing. I hope you two could actually talk and pick things since to see what Alex with what. I mean, the issue is that if there are people on the forum that are going to talk shit about him. I can't control that. If people are lying about shit, but I don't think I've ever talked about anything about Rekieta. And this is what pisses me off about him getting indignant every time I mention him, is that whenever I talk about Rekieta, I am addressing videos. I'm not reading forum posts unless it's like a compilation of like Drexel's best hits, and video is full of that. Unless it is a video, I'm not responding to it. So everything that I'm seeing, I am seeing from Nick's mouth. I am seeing a 44-minute clip of him lie about me asking him to delete stuff. That's not, I didn't get, he didn't say something good about me and correctly discuss what our conversation was like. And then a forum post misrepresented it to me. And then I believe that at face value. I saw him repeatedly, deliberately, at least 4 different times, directly state that I demanded to know what I could do to delete or ban from the forum to make things right between us. And that's a deliberate misrepresentation of what was actually happening. Because what was being said was the opposite. Like I said, his issue is that he wants someone who will enable him and not criticize him at all. And I'm not that person. When you go out and you accuse someone of always having sucked little baby dicks, you better be 100% certain that that's true. And then when I say that, and you correct the record to say that you probably sucked, that he probably sucked little baby dicks, and you didn't actually say probably, and you said the exact opposite always, I'm of course going to be upset at that too. It's like Rekieta doesn't even know what Rekieta has said. And if that's the case, it's probably because he's an alcoholic. And as a friend, I've told him directly, you need to stop drinking because it is not helping you. It's not helping your show. It's doing nothing for you. And of course that doesn't nobody listens to me. I'm just a loser. I run my forum. I'm not married. I live in Serbia. Have I even had a girlfriend? Come on, eye rolling, gun to head emoji. What do I have to say about anything? Nobody should ever listen to me. I know nothing. I have a very small lived experience. When I say you're probably hitting the bottle too hard, I'm a fucking retard. And that's how people treat me, even people who like me. And I feel like Cassandra a lot. I feel like I'm screaming my fucking head off. I'm completely right. I see it happening in real time before my eyes, and nobody gives a fuck. So I'm not going to fight to save somebody who's a grown-ass man who has 6 fucking kids and who should know better by himself already.